Hi, this is Kerry Hayes, longtime friend and loyal subscriber to the Daily Memphian, and you're listening to The Sidebar, a podcast about Memphis's community, arts, culture, and everything in between. Eric Barnes is away on assignment, and I'm honored to step in as your guest host for today's episode. Today we're talking, as everybody is, about the Memphis Grizzlies, specifically about what it means to be a fan of the Grizzlies. Their historically fun and exciting postseason run came to an end, unfortunately, last week with a Game 6 loss to the Golden State Warriors, but nobody can argue that our team doesn't have the best fans in the NBA, the most knowledgeable, the most passionate, the funniest, and far and away, I think, the most online. Today, I'm talking with two of the team's fans who have built huge and really active online followings. Molly Morrison, known to many on Twitter as @MadeInMemphis1, and EJ Wilcox, also known as Casamigos Morant, host of @Spaces Grizzlies on Twitter. Molly and EJ, thanks so much for being on the sidebar today.
Of course, happy to be here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. A lot I want to get into with each of you about how you think about the Grizzlies and cover the Grizzlies in your unique way. But first, just want to start, tell me about your introductions to the team. When did you start following them? What were your first memories of watching the Grizzlies play? When did you kind of first start to self-identify as a Grizzlies fan? Molly, let's start with you.
Man, I mean, I'm going to make y'all feel old, but my first memories of this team were really grit and grind. My first good memories, like my first core memories of it. I remember being in the FedEx Forum for those playoff runs. I remember Believe Memphis. I remember I have specific memories of like driving to my friend's bar mitzvah party and seeing people out on their porches with ground towels. It really was such a beautiful introduction to basketball, and I think that's what allowed me to enter the space and really fall in love with it right away from when I was young.
So that was early 2010s to the mid 2010s, kind of.
Yeah, so I was
range.
10, 11. I was young.
You did make me feel old. You're right.
I had to warn y'all. I knew it was gonna happen.
EJ, what about you?
So I was like 12. My dad took me to my very first game at the Pyramid. It was really to go see Tracy McGrady. I think it was like 2002. So that was my first Grizzlies game ever. But when I really got into it was when I was in college. And same time as Molly, the grit and grind era. But the very first game I remember like really latching on was Rudy Gay had like a career high, like 40 or maybe 39, 40 points or so. And he just torched the Heat. And the Heat was kind of my team at the time. And I was just watching with two of my best friends, Stevie Randolph and Micah Randolph. And, you know, I caught on then. That's when I really caught on. And then that very next year, Rudy actually hit a game winner over LeBron. LeBron wasn't on the Heat the first year, but the next year he was. He hit the game winner over him. I went to the playoff game 2012 against the Clippers. It was with the big blown lead that we had. I think it was a 24-point blown lead. I was very disappointed. But yeah, that was my very first playoff game as well.
Yeah, I think as you recall some of those, I think everybody listening probably has some pretty vivid memory, particularly of that Clippers playoff game that we gave away. I remember exactly where I was sitting when that buzzer rang. But if you went to games at the Pyramid, you're an old head. That was back in the day. Mm-hmm. Those were some lean years.
Before it was a Bass Pro Shop.
That's right. That's right. Some people listening to this podcast will have no idea what we're even talking about. That at one time basketball was played inside the Bass Pro Shop way back in the day. Well, when did that? So that obviously was way before any of the stuff we're talking about in terms of social media, internet presence, online followings. When did you guys start to post about the team? When did it really start to occur to you as a content opportunity to start posting about the Grizzlies and cover them in that way?
For me, it actually wasn't too far away. I started when I was 12. I'll say 13 for the sake of, I think Twitter doesn't allow 12-year-olds to create Twitter accounts. So yeah, I was 12 or 13 when I created Made in Memphis. It really started off as a place where I could go and tweet 20 times during a game and not bother my middle school friends. It was a space where I could talk about something I loved that I didn't necessarily share with a lot of people I knew in real life. So sort of slowly that became something that other fans started to latch onto. And I really didn't start with the intention of that. I didn't expect it to blow up the way it did.
Well, I want to talk to EJ. I want you to talk about the Spaces presence a little bit, but Molly, first I want to have you recount a little bit. It was June 2019, I think, when you outed yourself as sort of the face and the voice behind at Made in Memphis. Tell me a little bit about what compelled you to do that. Where was the account, in terms of audience size at that time, and just take me through a little bit about tell people kind of what that episode was all about for you in that year.
Yeah, it was the summer after my freshman year of college. I had studied sports journalism for a year at Indiana University. And, all throughout the year, just as I had the past, 6 years, I tweeted on this Made in Memphis account and it remained anonymous. I'm not sure. There probably was, the aspect of me knowing that being a woman was a little bit scary for me to enter the space. I didn't know how people would react. I knew that people might try to invalidate some of the things I said, like they haven't, but I just started to feel like I was lying to people, and I didn't like the way it felt. I didn't like that people, were reading my tweets for 6 years thinking I was someone I wasn't. So I thought it would be a really cool opportunity for myself and for other people, for myself, be like, okay, guys, this is who I am. This is who you've been talking to. But also, y'all, this was a 12 to 18-year-old young woman, and she was your favorite Grizzlies account. I think I actually had 10K when I revealed, so I've come a long way since then. But yeah, I think it was around 9 to 10K. And that to me was the ceiling. I was like, I've made it. I've peaked. I never could have imagined getting any more than that.
Meaning 9 to 10,000 followers. And what was the response immediately afterwards? Did you lose followers? Were people mad? Were they excited?
No, people loved it. I think it was a really cool representation of the city of Memphis, a city that accepts so many different kinds of people and loves different kinds of people. When the story was pretty local, I really didn't receive any harassment. If any, it was limited. So it was a really meaningful moment to me, just how much the city of Memphis embraced me in that time.
And EJ, you're doing something a little bit differently, at least as it relates to the most recent season, which is you're working within a new feature on the Twitter platform called Spaces, and you're moderating an account called @Spaces Grizzlies, if I have that right. Tell people who may not know what Spaces is, what you're doing with it, how you're using that feature to kind of grow the community.
Yeah, so that's actually this year is actually the first time I've ever just kind of dove in as a fan and just wanted to hear about the team more often and everything like that. But yeah, it's just a nice little chat room, I guess. There was a thing called Locker Room. It was in the pandemic era, 2020. I actually got to talk to Molly on Locker Room one time. She may not remember anything. It was with Keith Parrish. I think it was just us three, actually. And awesome. So yeah, it's kind of like the same platform as Spaces is. You're only allowed 8 speakers at a time, and you have 2 co-hosts, so you can just kind of open up the room. And so I just wanted to hear Grizz fans. I work nights, and I watch a lot of my games at night at work and everything like that. So I knew I didn't want to speak a lot, but I did want to chat about the Grizzlies. So I opened it up. I have my little co-host that comes up every often, and we just let the fans speak. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, so it's a really participatory kind of an audio chat room where people can comment on the games and talk to each other, and as you point out, kind of potentially even meet new fans that they might not otherwise have any kind of interaction with.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's awesome. So before we keep going, I want to mention you are listening to The Sidebar, which airs here on WYXR 91.7 FM every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. focused on the community, arts, culture, and everything else in between in Memphis. Eric Barnes is away this week on assignment. I'm Kerry Hayes. This is not just a radio show. It's one of many weekly podcasts from the Daily Memphian that also includes Behind the Headlines podcast, a number of different other sports podcasts, Bill Dree's On the Record podcast about politics, and Jennifer Biggs' food podcast, Sound Bites, that also hears here on WYXR every Thursday at 11. All of these podcasts and so much more are on the Daily Memphian website, as well as the WYXR app or wherever you get your podcasts. If you like this one, please subscribe, drop us a review, hit the share button, tell your friends, and spread the word. Want to talk to you guys a little bit about, EJ, you mentioned having to watch games at night because your work schedule, and Molly, you mentioned when you launched your account, your flagship account, being able to tweet 20 times in a way that was sort of less annoying maybe for some of your friends, but kind of each of you kind of walk me through what it means to watch a game. I mean, you guys are trying to do so many things and process so many things that I think your experience must be a little bit different than an average fan. I mean, EJ, how do you prepare for a game? What is that like for you, and what are you kind of doing and thinking about whenever the Grizzlies take the court?
Just watching basketball just for a long time. I mean, of course, I played in high school, but just trying to follow the game. Really, just listening to Brevin and Pete announce the game. That really, really helps. I mean, they let you know where the players are on the court. The excitement of the crowd, of course, lets you know how exciting the game is really going when you're listening and you're away from your phone for a little bit. Of course, I get to pick up here and there, like, watching throughout. But like I said, for the most part, it's really Pete and Brevin. Like, I can visualize a lot of the things that's going on just by their announcement.
Yeah, those guys are pros, obviously. Molly, what's your experience like when you sit down to engage with a Grizzlies game? What's that feel like?
It's really different each time. I think that I used to put a lot of pressure on myself to always be engaged online, and the NBA season is so long, so I am able to, now that I've done this for longer, be able to be like, tonight you don't need a tweet. It's okay if you don't have anything to say. It's okay to enjoy this. I think that's always important. Obviously, some people, shout out to people who literally have to tweet every single game, but I've been in a position where I've been a college student and I've also been an online persona or whatever. So yeah, I'm able to sort of do that when I want to. And like EJ said, experiencing it with Pete and Brevin, experiencing it with the online community, it's so much fun. It makes it, even when you're watching the game alone, if you're not watching it with friends or family, you feel like you're watching it with friends and family. So it's always, I love every single experience I have, even if I'm not online talking about it.
Yeah, I was going to ask what your guys' fans are like. I mean, to the degree that each of you have some following who are obviously, very, very busy online people themselves. I mean, how much time, energy does that take for you guys to kind of manage your own communities in addition to being card-carrying Grizzlies fans yourself?
Engaging with. It is different because I obviously have this Made in Memphis account that is a Memphis audience. Then I have my personal account, which is now blown past it in followers and is where I cover all of the NBA as well as the Grizzlies. But, which is why I never felt the need to walk away from Made in Memphis, because I do love having that space where I can only talk Grizzlies. But yeah, I think that for me, it's obviously it can get intense sometimes having that community, but it's always worth it by the people that are so supportive and just want to talk to you about basketball. I think those people who are there to have that dialogue with you make it so worthwhile. I mean, you want to connect with people who share interests with you, who want to debate with you about things you love. So Twitter is just such a great place to do that. And you can kind of ignore the nonsense sometimes. And I think there's a lot of really beautiful connections to be made there.
Yeah. And EJ, I mean, to the degree that the Spaces feature on platform is an even more real-time dynamic. I mean, you're in, live conversations with people. Anything ever happen in those rooms that's unexpected, either good or bad, that you've sort of picked up along the way over the course of the last year?
Yeah, I believe this season kind of made it easy though. You know, we didn't have a lot of lows this year, so it was there. It was very peaceful. Starting out new, we did like I just captured the real Grizz fans. I didn't promote myself outside of anything Grizzlies. I just followed Grizzlies fans. So I really just wanted to be organic and Grizzlies grown. So it wasn't too bad. Of course, we had some moments, you know, trade a player here, trade a player there, da 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 da. But yeah, it's been pretty well. The playoffs got a little hectic, but we cleaned that up. You know, we basically found out that we really just need to have Grizz fans talking. For me, I only do the post game, so I don't have to have a lot of topics to bring up. Like literally, all we talk about is the game. So that's what makes it easy for me.
I think watching Grizzlies fans clap back at other teams' fans online has been, you know, probably one of the most enjoyable things for me about being the experience of being a Grizzlies fan. EJ, do you ever have another team's fans ever get into your Spaces chat and want to mix it up?
Oh yes, most definitely. Yeah. the Warriors fans, of course. But you know, I didn't deal with Warriors fans mainly because of the disrespect that they were giving to a lot of our lady Grizz fans. So I just cut all of them off, and that's all seriousness. And also Molly was talking about, you know, tweeting during games and stuff like that. I made a really big group Grizz chat during this playoffs as well. We only can allow 75 people, but the main purpose of that, and I told everybody when I started it, we're just trying to keep the negativity off the timeline during games. A lot of times, you know, our fans can just go ballistic sometimes. So I think we did a fair job of talking in our group chat and keeping all negativity off the timeline during games throughout the playoffs and just trying to keep the positive energy, you know, toward our players. Now, I don't know if these players listen to us or whatever, but we know they're pretty active on Twitter. So we just want to keep all, you know, positivity going toward our young team. So that's why I made our big group chat as well.
Yeah, you do your best. But tell me about your guys' relationship to the degree that you have one with the team itself in the front office. I mean, do they have any awareness of what you guys are doing? Do they interact with you? Do you have any sense of what their impression of you may be as fans? Listeners will see both people shaking their heads right now.
I'll say this. Brevin Knight did come on to the space after Ja's 47-point performance, game 2 of the Warrior series. I thought that was really big, but that's about the closest as far as the team affiliation that I've gotten to speaking with.
Let me ask the question a different way. Do you guys think of yourselves as journalists or analysts or members of the media? Do you guys put yourselves in that space, or how do you think about yourselves as it relates to the Grizzlies enterprise?
I think of myself, you know, as media. I think media is such like a loose term nowadays, but it really can encompass so many things. So I like to write, I like to commentate on the games, I like to make videos talking about the games, record podcasts. So yeah, I think again, I think EJ and I are both like sort of in this space right now where we're not, you know, we can kind of say what we want and do what we want because we're not affiliated with the team. So that definitely gives us, you know, a lot of freedom, and we're, you know, able to say things probably that other people can't say in that way.
Yeah. Well, to the degree that both you guys are really active on Twitter, and there's a lot of conversation right now about the ownership of that platform may change, and who knows how that's going to resolve itself. But it's reasonable to think that all the social media platforms are going to be looking for new ways to monetize themselves, new ways to monetize their users. Do you guys think about that? Do you think about trying to convert what you're doing into more of a business? Is that of interest to you, or where do you guys see what you're doing now, maybe 3 to 5 seasons from now, in terms of how it works? EJ, what do you think?
I know for me, I'm definitely going to be taking this summer and just trying to figure things out for myself, and what platforms is going to be opening up and things like that. I know Reddit is thinking about trying to open up something like a space. So, that might be a feature used down the road. But yeah, since it's so new to me, I've never done media. I've never done anything like this. Like I said, I'm just a fan. That's all I am. I just opened up a room for other fans. So yeah, I'll definitely be doing things this summer and thinking about where I want to go. Kind of like Molly said, I'm not tied into any company or brand or anything like that. So it's good to be a freelancer for the moment.
Yeah. And Molly, you've been kind of on this a little bit longer. Where do you think the sort of fan generated content world is going?
Yeah, I mean, you ask if you've thought about monetizing it, and it's basically my resume. My Twitter account is basically my resume. It's what's allowed me to be connected with so many people that I've interned with, connected with, worked with, an ambassador for. I think that having that form where I can literally just like authentically be myself in such a easily consumable fashion, there's nothing easier than reading a one-line tweet. So yeah, I think that you're not doing it. If you're doing it at my age because you just want money, then it's going to be a miserable existence. I'm doing it because I love it, but also I'm aware that I'm so lucky that since I have picked up, this following and these people who support me, I will be able to turn this into a job. And that's what I'm doing right now. That's what I'm working with my agent right now, figuring out my next steps in the industry. So it's all very exciting, but I think that just doing it and putting the work in, like EJ, you're doing, I think you'll find that even if you're not necessarily getting paid, like down the road, it'll just help you so much, open so many doors, and it'll be worth it. So that's where I see myself right now.
So I have a little bit of a sense of what you guys are going to be doing during the off season. I think by the time this podcast drops, fans will have a slightly clear sense of maybe how the rest of the postseason is going to go. Put yourselves, imagine you had Jason Wexler and Zach Kleiman across the desk from you for 5 minutes. Give me a little prognostication of what the Grizzlies need to be doing in the off season, looking to next season to really compete. In your expert opinions as fans, what kind of moves does the team need to make?
Keep Ja home. I know it can be this summer or next summer that he can get his contract, but first and foremost, let's keep Ja home. And then just like I would just tell them, just continue to build this family environment that you have built. I'm not going to, tell them, hey, we need to go get this player, that player, but just they have gained a lot of trust in me. From our previous regime. I'm not going to say any names, but so yeah, like they have my full trust as a fan for sure. So yeah, I'll just tell them to continue to do what you're doing. Good luck in this draft. I really hope we move up and get a good player as well, because the homegrown feeling is definitely a great feel. We haven't gone and gotten a lot of free agents ever since Chandler Parsons, pretty much. But yeah, so yeah, I just tell them just keep doing what you're doing. Let's keep this homegrown family feel, and just hope that we can just get a championship with this crew right here, this game that we have together.
Yeah, we're gonna beep Chandler Parsons' name when we finally when we publish this. That's not allowed.
Okay,
not allowed.
Like no shave, but this man, I swear, wants to make like stealing, like I guess like fleecing the Grizzlies, his entire personality. He brings it up on Twitter like once a week. I'm like cool, but it's
just can't get over it.
It's a little interesting. I'm like, good for you. But yeah, I think for me, if I'm sitting across from the front office right now, I'd say, I mean, obviously it seems like Tyus wants to start somewhere. So if Tyus is able to start somewhere, Tyus is going to start somewhere. I could even see him taking a pay cut to start somewhere. So, I mean, I think Tyus is great. I think you're not going to find a better backup point guard than him. Unless the Lakers didn't have to fail and not give us their pick, which is just unfortunate. But yeah, so I think, like EJ said, keeping a lot of the team together. I think even, I'm someone who supports Dylan Brooks, and I will criticize Dylan Brooks as much as anyone, but I'm also not jumping on Twitter like trade him the second, because I think we forget when he has these terrible games, like how key he is to this team. So I'm actually a believer in Dylan Brooks. I would like him to stay on the team. I think Kyle and Tyus, I guess, are the question marks. And again, like he said, I trust this front office. I think they've done nothing to lose our trust. They've really they've drafted remarkably. They've made decisions and not made decisions remarkably. So I'm excited to see this summer. I think every fan is excited. I think Zaire was such a remarkable pick that that a lot of fans doubted at first. So yeah, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut and trust what they do, because they've proved me wrong every time. So.
Well, I know you guys will be watching over the course of the summer and then heading into next season. Eric always closes out the podcast by asking people what their first concert was. I want to do something a little different. Just ask you guys, what was your one single favorite Grizzlies memory from this last season that just ended? What's the one thing you keep coming back to? That's just play you can't believe they pulled off, victory you can't believe they pulled off. Where do you guys live? Molly, what do you think?
Oh, I hate that you asked me first, because there's so many. Like, literally, I'm not kidding. It felt like I have the pleasure to get to go to so many games, and I felt like once a week I'm walking back to the car with my dad, and we're just looking at each other like, what? Yeah, I guess because of recency bias, I mean, the Jaw 47 performance felt extremely iconic, and just getting to sit near the bench and seeing how much these guys freaking love each other, how excited they get for each other, even when, someone might be taking someone else's spot in the rotation. It's just so cool. So yeah, recency, but I'll go with that.
Yeah, that's a good one. EJ, give you the last word. What was your number one Grizzlies moment from last year?
So yeah, in person was definitely the 47-point performance. I don't get to go to many games. I'm actually in Middle Tennessee, but yeah, that was definitely the best in game. But outside of just watching, it was definitely the 52-point performance. I mean, that was just a spectacular night. I think I cried. I had tears about twice in that game. Just the dunk, and then really just the Steven Adams pass right before halftime. That was really, really special. So yeah, that's my two for me.
Well, it was a season of tears and laughter and some aggravation and more to come for sure. That is unfortunately all the time we have for today. I want to thank my guests again, Molly Morrison, also known as @MaidenMemphis1 on Twitter, and EJ Wilcox, host of @SpacesGrizzlies on Twitter. Thanks so much, guys. The Sidebar airs on WYXR 91.7 every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. But if you missed it, you can catch the whole thing on dailymemphian.com, the WYXR app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Eric will be back from assignment next week to talk to Patty Daigle from the Memphis Brooks Museum of Art. Until then, thanks again, and we'll see you around.
In-depth journalism in the Memphis community, the Daily Memphian is of Memphis, not just in Memphis, and seeks to tell the stories of this city. TheDailyMemphian.com. Truth in place.